you can pound nails with the head of the hammer, or you can flip it over and you can use the handle, and you're going to be able to do the job, but the hammer is not going to last very long if you don't use it correctly. And our body's a tool for movement. So we need to think about it that way. If we're using it correctly, then it's going to last as long as we need it to. But if we're using it incorrectly, training to use it incorrectly, like we believe traditional training does, then it's just not going to last as long as we would like it. And we're going to have pain, we're going to have injury. So, hello, my name is Mitch Van Beek, and we're here with another episode of Movement Monday with the Move Pain Free coaching staff. Today, I am really excited to have one of my real longtime friends, Riley Van Wyhe, on. I think Riley was born 8 hours after me, and we've known each other ever since. So we go way back, and today we're just going to be talking about his process going through the Move Pain Free system. He's been there since the beginning of this training system as well. So it's a really great honor to have you on, Riley. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And you are 8 hours older than me, and I am 8 inches taller than you.
Yes. Yes, you are. So just going into a little bit of your background, Riley, I'll let you explain kind of your history of training and sports and how everything kind of went down from there. So if you just want to go into some details there, man.
Yeah, so start off broad, then I'll maybe get more specific on some training stuff. But went to Central Line High School with Mitch here. Played all sports in high school. Like to think I was pretty good at them. Ended
You
up ended up playing college football at University of Northern Iowa for 5 years, and now I am a coach at Northern Iowa. But into training, so it was more a traditional method growing up, doing exercises, at least being active, played a ton of sports. So when I was younger, not much training, but just on the field, on the court, whenever I could. Get into middle school, more training, just the traditional powerlifting, lifting stuff. And then I tore my hamstring freshman year of football. Mitch, remember that?
Yep.
Fumbled.
Yep. He fumbled the ball. It looked like he got shot, actually.
So yeah, tore my hamstring. Um, I was always in, I guess I was inflexible. No one really told me that, but now the stuff that I know now, just you can see how I was running, had no knee drive. My hips were very tight, and it looked like I was just moving my legs really fast. So when I, with my rehab there, got hooked up with a pretty good trainer who helped me through those things. So helped me open up my hips, um, get into like the glute activation. So really a really good trainer for the traditional lifting side. Squeeze through your heels, you know, glute activation and all that kind of stuff that you hear so you don't get injured while you're lifting. So
Yep.
do all that stuff all the way through high school, all the way through high school and college. And then I really feel like I hit a plateau of stuff. I couldn't stretch my hips anymore. I was stretched out. So what really got me bought into this, working with you, Mitch, is doing some hip exercises and that kind of stuff, which made me found another level in my hip mobility because it was more movement stuff rather than a straight static stretching and lifting. So that's where the movement stuff really helped me in my last 2 years of college.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to kind of go into what Riley's saying about the traditional training aspects is traditionally we do lifting based training. So the entire goal is to move weight vertically or even toward you. And that would be the lifting gear of our body. We think about the body like a car. We have reverse, we have forward. So the lifting gear is reverse. Our movement gear is forward. So that traditional training is the heel pressure, the hip thrusting, the core brace training. And like Riley said, it'll give you more range of motion and strengthen your body, but it's going to be in that lifting pattern. And that's what I kind of had to convince Riley of, and it's still going on with a lot of the people in my life that I've grown up with. We grew up training one way, and then Riley, we got to talk about this when I started getting into this movement-based stuff. But when I started talking about we need to train for movement instead of lifting, it was kind of a mindset shift that I'm trying to push onto other people. So Riley, just kind of talk about the mindset shift that had to happen when I started talking about movement-based training versus lifting-based training.
Yeah, so it's who you surround yourself with. So when you're with traditional football strength coaches, with other strength coaches, you hear the stronger you are, the faster you'll be. But since then, Mitch and I talk almost every day. So now, since a couple of years ago, we talk every day, and it's him telling me that was that convincing, and it was just that bug in my ear about the movement and the spine not bracing, the spine moving. Another thing that really got me into it was the feet, having straight feet, having pressure on your outside of your feet or through your forefoot, not on your heels.
Yep.
So there's things like that that slowly got me to buy into more things. So I guess even the first thing that really got me in was we talked about hang cleans and how you don't get anything out of them because they're reverse gear. So that was like one of the first things I shut down was that because it made sense to me how it's a lot of work to do that exercise and I wasn't getting anything out of it. So just slowly, everything we talked about, I became fully bought into this system. And it wasn't all or nothing right away for me. It was things that you did a great job of explaining why this pairs with your other exercises that you do. So you started me with the recode thing and how that helped, and then how it shifted into like full on training.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was even something that we had to develop too, because right away, the movement-based training was a lot of just developmental stuff. So we're on the ground, we're developing our movement the same way we did initially as children. So we're on the ground, we're rocking around, we're making sure that we're organizing our spine with our hips, with our ankles. And then, like you just said, we've developed it to a point where now we can load our body heavy, but still train for that organized movement behavior that we see in the injury resistant people, the pain resistant people. So you already touched on one injury that you had, but I just kind of wanted to talk through just the history of how your body's felt through your years of training. You've been a high level athlete for years and years, and you've put your body through a lot of stuff. So I just kind of wanted to touch on how your body's felt and how your body's felt since moving into movement based training.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of back pain um, from lifting. We did a ton of squatting, a lot of heavy squats. So we were always loading the bar on our back. So I had a ton of back pain and just yeah, it was just tight. I couldn't move. I was stiff. Um, and it's more of like just compression on my back all the time. So I could never get it decompressed. Um, found a few ways to help myself out through the season or through off-season lifting, but it was never like a permanent solution as when it became when I started doing your stuff, how it was more you can go to the chiropractor and they'll help you out for a day, but then it goes right back to it. So I was a frequent chiropractor visitor, but now it's if you go to the chiropractor, then you keep doing the movement based lifting exercises that you stick with it and you keep that decompressed spine. And I'll never load up another bar on my back ever again.
Yep.
And with your system, I don't have to, and I can still get the gains that I would like.
Yeah. And we kind of talk about this in our education module that we go through with clients is there are ways to load the body to not take it out of its natural alignment. And that bar on the back squat is just in the nature of the exercise, that bar on your back is going to force you to flare your ribs upward. It's going to create compression in your spine. And you'll see that when you mess up your spinal movement, the rest of your body will adjust to it. But if it's not designed to work that way, it's not going to work for long, right? I like to use this analogy. You can pound nails with the head of the hammer, or you can flip it over and you can use the handle, and you're going to be able to do the job, but the hammer is not going to last very long if you don't use it correctly. And our body's a tool for movement. So we need to think about it that way. If we're using it correctly, then it's going to last as long as we need it to. But if we're using it incorrectly, training to use it incorrectly, like we believe traditional training does, then it's just not going to last as long as we would like it. And we're going to have pain, we're going to have injury. So, all right. So, we like to ask the people we have on our podcast just to give their general overview of our program because we talk about it a lot. I try to tell people this is how it goes, this is how everything works, but it's great to hear it from someone who's been through it. So if you would just want to give a general overview of how we get you in and then where it goes from there, how we progress, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I've done a couple different types of workouts through kind of being a guinea pig on some, seeing how it works out.
Yep.
Done personal recode, done the 90-day recode. So the eye-opening thing is when you do the first step in the process is getting the video of how you move, and then Mitch will dissect it down and see what you're doing wrong, how you load, and how you release. So everyone as an athlete, you think you're great. So first video, I thought I was good, thought I was fine, and then he's able to show me things about like how I release, how my foot lands, and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the first step, and then from there, it's the exercises, the personalized exercises that you do to correct the issues that he points out, because not everyone's the same issue, not everyone has the same problems, how they do things. So mine was always I like to talk about my hips. That always makes me feel the best. So I spend a lot of time there. So my exercise is more geared towards that, where someone else's could be different. But I noticed the results when you consistently do them. Um, I felt like I didn't need to stretch anymore. So I'll talk about summer of 2021, which is now a while ago now, and you've done a lot of things since then. But that's when I would say I got bought in. Like this is all I will ever do again for my career. I was between uh, summer before my senior season of football, so I was doing all our required workouts of the squatting, benching. I didn't have to clean that year because I broke my finger, so I got out of that. But so I was doing all that stuff, doing all our running and stuff, but I was consistently doing the recode all summer before the workout, in the middle of the day, and then at night. So what I really liked about it was I used to do the workouts and then I'd stretch for 30 minutes at home. But like I said earlier, I kind of hit a plateau. You can only stretch for so long, you only stretch out so much. So I was doing these exercises, and that was just part of my routine was I had to stretch every night or else I felt like shit before I went to bed.
Yeah.
So I would do the exercises, and then after 2 weeks of doing the exercises, plus keeping up with all the lifting I had to do required, I didn't have to stretch anymore. I felt like I didn't have to stretch because the exercises and the recode I was doing was making my body feel better, even though I was doing those other things. But that's what kept me bought in. I'm like, I don't need to stretch anymore. This is my stretching, and I feel great. I feel better than I ever have before.
Yeah. And just kind of to touch on like the concepts behind that is like you said, like you can only stretch to a point.
Mm-hmm.
Your tissues can only get so long. But then we add in this piece that we call tension, and the tension in our body is actually what gives our joints space. If your tissues are just super long, your joints will actually start to compress in on themselves because there's nothing to keep that space, nothing to pull them apart and keep the space for movement. So when you started to tap into that tension piece is when you started to get the actual space in your joints and you started feeling better. You started feeling great from what I hear, which is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Um, And yeah, so that the next thing I was just gonna want to have you touch on was just your results from the program. And like you said, it's the only stuff you'll ever do for your body now. And yeah, it's you've noticed improvements in your movement. I'm guessing if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, so even just like the education, that's what Mitch and I talk about a lot. We spend days texting about that, but like my feet can no longer naturally turn out. Like how some people's feet naturally turn out and have duck feet. My feet are straight all the time, and that's how they're supposed to be. And now I notice if my feet are turned out, I'm like, oh, okay, my feet need to turn back in and point forward. And then just now I'm not as active as I was doing that stuff. I still do, but now I notice if I don't do my favorite exercises in the morning. If I
Yeah.
don't hit my told Mitch to talk about my favorite exercises. My favorite exercise is the child rockers and the lateral rockers.
Yeah.
So if I don't do those in the morning, I notice it by the middle of the day. After lately I've been sitting doing some office work, but I notice by the middle of the day that my hips don't feel as good as the days when I do it in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's just a thing now when I'm not as active like that. I notice and it keeps me to do it because it shows up every day.
Yeah. And it's kind of like giving your body the environment to stay pain free. So your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments are the environment that your joints live in. Essentially, you have to keep feeding your body these natural, these healthy inputs, and then your body will reward you by not sending these pain signals saying, hey, something's wrong. And yeah, that's exactly what we want to hear. That's exactly the goal with everyone, is giving them a few tools in their toolbox to just make sure that they're feeling great all the time. And yeah, it sounds like it's worked out well for you. So
And,
um
and these are tools like so it doesn't happen again.
yeah,
Like some people they give you stuff to do, but that's just to fix what happened, just to get you back to where you are. These exercises and the recodes and all the stuff that these guys are giving you are tools so you can keep building from there. It's the base floor, and you can keep going with this so it doesn't keep recurring. A
yeah,
lot of things happen in like modern medicine. It's they get you back and then it comes back so you can pay them again how to do it. But this is to get you truly pain free for lifetime.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then just a couple more things, just advice for people who are hearing this, anyone who's feeling back pain, hip pain, knee pain, people who are athletes, active adults, just what would your advice be for someone hearing this and maybe resonating with your story?
Yeah, so I say my tip for athletes is I know like a lot of people think, oh, I can't get big off of this. I can't get strong and I can't get faster doing all this movement stuff because you feel like you're not getting anything done. But truly, when you get in these exercises, you'll see how weak you actually are when your body starts shaking and you start vibrating in those in the safe positions. And any exercise you do, the first exercise program you do will have the best results because it's the first time you've ever trained. But like Mitch said, is you want to do the one you want to use the hammer the correct way. So get in right away and use the correct system that's video based to show which is the correct way. And if for general population people, I think this is the best system you can do either way. There's hands down, this is the best because frankly, I don't care if an old person can squat 500 pounds. That's you want to be able to move for the rest of your life. You want to be able to have movement and you want to be able to walk and run, and that's what will keep you active. If you can do those things pain free, then you can do them from a long time. So this is by far the best program for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people fall into that trap. They see all of these influencers out here with huge muscles and they're moving big weight. And if you ask those dudes to run a mile or even sprint a 40 for you, trust me, it doesn't look good. I've been around these dudes. I've been that dude. I used to be on a big deadlift kick, couldn't run. I was unable to run.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a mindset shift from movement based training or from lifting based to movement based training, and that's uh that's just the way it has to be. We have to use the hammer the right way. So,
And I
well,
guess another thing with like the videos, so what I do it, I rewatch the videos like while I do the exercise and I go along with it. So I get like extra reps in while I do it. But every time I watch the videos, I pick up on something new, like a new coaching point that helps me do the exercise better. So like for child rockers, one that I like is keeping your calves, your ankles to the floor or your outside of your
yeah,
calves down. And like I almost kind of I didn't really hit a plateau, but like I was just doing the exercise. Then I watched the video again and like I heard you say that and like I got more space in my hip for that. Now I do that every time. So that's just if you, when you guys are part of the program, really watch the videos and then ask questions because you need to become a master at the exercises.
yeah, and that's the goal. We actually been saying this a lot to people. Like, if you want to use our exercises for people that you coach, like that's what we want. We want to coach coaches because we need to lead this paradigm shift toward movement based training, and it's going well. We're getting a lot of people in, and we're helping a lot of people, and hopefully it just keeps growing exponentially. So, um, Riley, thanks for coming on, and I really appreciate all the kind words, and I'm really happy that you're feeling great and keep moving for a lifetime, right? We're gonna start running marathons and stuff together. That's what I heard.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Okay. We'll
For you,
start with
listen, I'm
that.
not a runner. I'm not a runner.
That is true. Well, you can sprint. You're pretty fast at sprinting,
Yeah,
but we'll start with a 5K. All right.
yeah.
Click the link in the description for a free 3-day trial with the MovePainFree System. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more information in the future about how you can live an active life moving pain-free.